Chapter 3, Ethics, Fraud, and Control. This chapter examines three closely related areas of concern which are specifically addressed by the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, or the SOX, and are important to accountants and the management. So these three areas are ethics, fraud, and internal control. So on the first part, we'll be talking about ethics. Then the second part will be emphasizing about fraud, and then lastly is the internal control. So what are our objectives for this chapter? So first is to understand the broad issues pertaining to business ethics. Second, have a basic understanding of ethical issues related to the use of information technology. Third is to be able to distinguish between management fraud and employee fraud. Fourth is be familiar with the common types of fraud schemes. Next is to be familiar with the key features of the SAS 78, or the COSO Internal Control Framework. And lastly is to understand the objectives and application of physical controls. Now let's start first with the ethics. Now, ethical standards are derived from societal mores and deep-rooted personal beliefs about issues of right and wrong that are not universally agreed upon. So it is quite possible for two individuals, both of whom consider themselves to be acting ethically, to be on opposite sides of an issue. So often we confuse ethical issues with legal issues. So for instance, when the honorable gentleman from the state of, for instance, Cebu, who is charged with ethical misconduct, stands before Congress and proclaims that he is guilty of no wrongdoing, which he technically means that he did not break any law. But the term guilty was used, diba? So, marag na dayo yung wrong misconception. So, in business, you should ask, or before dealing into business or before diving into the business world, one of the questions that you should ask yourself is that, why should you be concerned with ethics in the first place? So why is ethics important in the business world? So ethics is needed when conflicts arise, because when conflicts arise, there is the need to choose. Diba? When conflicts arise, you have options on what to do. Diba? How do you react with the conflict, or how do you try to resolve the conflict? So, diba, you have options. Now, ethics comes in because your decision is partly affected by your ethical behavior, or your ethical standards, or the ethics that you follow, or your ethical principles. So in business, conflicts may arise between employees, management, stakeholders, diba? Conflicts may arise in any shape or form. So meaning ethics is applied in any shape or form. So each person has his or her own ethical principles. Now, also, when conflicts arise, especially when we are dealing in the business setting, litigations are common. So when you say litigations, it already means that there are legal procedures that you need to follow. So ethics, again, pertains to the principles of conduct that individuals use in making choices and guiding their behavior in situations that involve the concepts of right or wrong, as I mentioned a while ago. Now, business ethics involves finding the answers to these two questions. First, how do managers decide on what is right in conducting their business? Diba? Since we are saying ethics is deciding what is right or wrong, now how do you decide what is right and what is wrong, especially in the conduct of your business? Now, next question, once you have recognized what is right, how do you achieve it? So these are the two questions that are involved when you are dealing with business ethics. So business organizations have conflicting responsibilities to their employees, shareholders, customers, and the public. So every major decision has consequences that potentially harm or benefit these constituents. So it would depend. One decision may be favorable to the company, but then it is not favorable when it is the part of the customer, 'di ba? So naagyoy party nga maagrabyado. So kung ikaw management, what decision would you do para maka-achieve gyapon kag sort of a win-win situation between the parties involved? So diha na mo come in ang imuhang business ethics. Now, seeking a balance between these consequences, or kato akong gimension, di ba nga na win-win, is what you call manager's ethical responsibility. So, meaning, dili ra kay response, or si management is, dili ra kayo by the books ang iyahang pamagi, but then, as a manager, you should also consider your ethical responsibilities to all your stakeholders, may it be employees, customers, your co-management. So next, here is the 4 main areas of business ethics, or these are the usual ethical issues that you would, in one way or another, may encounter in a business venture. So we have equity issues, which includes the executive salary, comparable worth, product pricing. So when we say executive salary, like for instance, nganong si manager A kay mas dako sa sweldo ni manager B, now what happens if they find out the difference? How is it justifiable? So ingon ana nga mga issues ba, wala ba yung mga under the table transactions mao nang mas dako siya sweldo, ingon ana. Now we also have ethical issues about rights in general. So you have corporate due process, like imuhang employees ba, or if there are things that may happen in the company, is a due process followed yun para na fairness. The employees, so they have health screenings, are the employees' privacies well given importance, di ba? Naaba kay mga measures or controls against sexual harassment, o di ba? Do you accept diversity in your workplace? Is there equal employment opportunities for all? So, di ba, these are issues nga maagian gyud sa business in one way or another. So, for example, na by discrimination, di ba? Man na siya sa imuhang rights. Those are ethical issues. When it comes to honesty, o nadadiri ang kanang mga fraudulent activities, na ba mo inyong business is nagbuhat ba siya misleading advertising, meaning lahi ang inyong giingon sa customer sa kung unsa jud ang inyong actual product, di ba? Na ba mo'y gitago sa inyong mga financial records, nga di mo ganahan makahibaw ang public. So, those are ethical issues. O, sa about sa inyong workplace, is it safe ba? Like, or wala ba yung mga hazardous nga mga butang sa inyong factory baron or sa inyong warehouse nga maka-compromise sa safety sa inyong employees, di ba? So, may naaba kay paki sa inyong mga employees, inana na siya. So, those are all ethical issues that a business may encounter or should take into account na dapat dili na nila mahitabo or dili maabot ang point nga mo decide sila on choosing what is right and wrong. Kaya in the first place, nagbuhat na sila sa sakto. So, those are your main areas of business ethics.